Hello and welcome to PDQ cards. Today I'm going to be looking at female and male cards. It's quite often get asked about making cards for men because it's not as easy as women apparently. I've never had a problem, but you know, just occasionally that's what I hear. Obviously we've got lots of flowery, floral, pretty sets that are very feminine. Nothing to say you can't give them to a man. However, in this tutorial I thought I would show you my take on some of the male and female cards that I do. And I'm going to use some of the current in colours, which is Magenta Madness and Misty Moonlight, you know, a typical boy and girl colour. Although apparently pink was, until the Victorian times, a male colour, who knew? And I'm also going to use two of our lovely sets which are really complementary, which is Beautiful Moments, which has these lovely sort of ink drawing type images, perfect for mums, sisters, friends, etc. And also A Good Man, which again has these ink type drawings, but lots of different sort of family or maybe, you know, a few beers down the beach kind of images as well. I always think that this guy has been on barbecue duty all afternoon and is absolutely exhausted, and this like mum has had enough and has walked off and stood in the sand dunes contemplating her own future. But that's just my take on it. Anyway, so let's get crafting. So I'm just going to move a few bits out of the way, because otherwise I end up with that thing where you've got a tiny little bit of area to play on. And I do find, like most crafters, that you start off with a really nice clear desk, and about halfway through you realise you're crafting on a tiny little area about this, and everything around is completely covered by stuff. So I'm just going to pull my trimmer out to start off with. Now I've got an A4 piece of Whisper White thick card, and I'm just going to cut that using the cutting blade at 14.9, and that gives us two card bases, which I'm just going to turn round, and at 10.5 centimetres, so I've got my measuring across the top, I'm going to use a scoring blade, not the cutting blade because I don't want to chop it in half, just to put a nice trim in there, so that when I bend it, you can see I've got this little dip. When I bend it, there you go, one card. And I'm just going to do the same with the other one. So again, it's 10.5 with the scoring blade. And they are nicely done. So that's our two card bases, and I will fold them properly in a moment. Now I'm going to do them on layers, so I'm going to add a little bit. So because my top layer was 10.5, I want to make it a little bit smaller, so I'm going to cut it on 10 and keep that a little bit by, and it was 14.9, so I'm going to make it 14.4, which you can see I've already done. So that's my pink layer, my Magenta Madness, and again I'm going to do the same with the Misty Moonlight, so I'm going to make it 10 by 14.4. There we go. So they are all ready to go. Now I'm already prepared because I use so many of these. I have a whole stash of these. I'm just going to grab a couple. So here we go. So just to show you the measurements of my top, this is Whisper White, and again it's now 9.5, so I've taken off another half of a centimetre by 13.9. Okay, there we go. So that's all my cutting done, and I'm just going to pop that in place and pop that away out of the way. So, who should we start with, boys or girls? Well, we always do ladies first, so I'm going to go for the men because I can. So, I'm going to use A Good Man, and I'm just going to move those out of the way. So, I'm going to take one of my covers and pop him there so you can see what I'm using. Now, I love this image here, and as I said before, it always makes me think of a gentleman who may have gone to the beach and had a couple of glasses of something quite refreshing. So, I have my stamp, and I'm going to stamp him in Memento, which is just a basic black. Just make sure he's nicely inked up. Now my ink pad is getting a little bit dry, and I actually need to look at re-inking it. So I'm just going to pop him down in the corner there. There we go. Lovely, so he's all done and can wiggle out the way now. Now I'm going to use the blender pens with him. Now they come in a combo pack, so you get a light one and a dark one of each colour, and these are the Misty Moonlight combo pack. Now I always start with the dark one. Let's see if you can see. And all I'm going to do is just put in some touches where I think the dark side will be. Now I think his jeans are going to be pretty dark all the way through, so I'm just going to pop him through there, and then maybe around the side of his hat where the sun's coming in. So that's my dark, and then I'm just going to go over it. I don't need to be too particular with the lighter colour, and you can see it sort of smudges in a bit. Smushes, I don't know, whatever the word is. It blends, hence the reason why they're called blender pens. There you go, so he's all nicely, and I don't need to be too precise on here. It's just to give an inference of colour. There we go. Now I'm going to use the ivory pen, which is, you know, again a really good kind of skin colour. I mean, it's not perfect, but then doesn't need to be perfect. Is crafting, and the idea of crafting is that you make it look like it's handmade. If it was perfect, you get to the high street. Oh, better do his neck, otherwise he'll look like he's got stuck. There we go. And I'm going to use the So Saffron just to colour in his t-shirt. Oh. And you can see I don't need to be too careful about how I colour in. You won't get lines left with the blender pen. It will just be a general kind of colour. They're really good, useful for colouring in, because unlike with felt tip pens where you get those streaky lines, you don't get it. So there you go, that's my little gentleman all coloured in. I'm going to use the Misty Moonlight ink, and I've chosen you do a great job of being a great guy. I might have done this a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but there you go anyway. So let's ink him up, and we're going to pop him down there. A little bit of pressure, and ta-da! Look at that. It's almost like a planet, isn't it? It's not quite straight, but it's close enough. So there we go. So that's our Misty Moonlight. Now, Stampin' Up are really good at coordinating. So again, you've already got the blender pens, the ink, and the Misty Moonlight cardstock, and as you can see they all match really well, but they also do accessories. So they do embellishments, and in this case they do a lovely ribbon as well, which I'm just going to take a little bit of and pop down there, I think. So I'm just going to snip that, and then this is where this grid paper comes in really handy, because I know roughly speaking where I want it to go, which is give or take a bit back there. So I can line my my ribbon up, pop my card down, and somewhere I have a little stamping steel, which is a bit like a kind of tape of double-sidedness. It's lovely, and it's just really handy when you've got ribbon. There you go, and I can pop him over and pop him over. There you go, he's all stuck down. I'm just going to chop off the ends just so that it doesn't get too bulgy. Oh, there we go, pop those in the bin. Right, and then we need to make our card. So let's pop him. Let me grab one of these, and I'm just going to burnish my card. For those who don't know what burnishing is, this is the bone folder. It's a kind of, I guess originally they would have been made of bone, but I think they're now there's some sort of resin type plastic thing, I don't know. Anyway, and all I'm doing is pressing down on that fold just to make sure that we get a lovely crisp fold, and it just starts to start. So you can see here that there's a nice smooth fold. Sometimes if you get cheap paper you end up with it kind of cracking and burring and just generally not looking that nice. Okay, so first things first, let's add our base. So I'm going to use liquid glue, and you don't need a lot of this. Oh, and it does go a very long way, so I just want to make sure all the edges are nicely glued in, and I'm going to pop them down. There we go, and then do the same for the top again, you know, just a little. Oh, it's not been stored the right way up. There we go, just make sure it goes down. a little bit in the edge to make sure, middle, to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. There we go. And you don't need to be perfect with this again, it's just the idea. We'll make sure that's all smudged down. There we go. And that's our guy's card. So there we go. So he's all coloured in, he's got his matching ribbon, a little bit of everything else. I could add a bow or I could do some more, but I actually quite like it being quite like that. It's a very relaxed card, a bit like this gentleman here. So that's my very quick mail card, and as you can see there's lots of different opportunities to make similar cards from that stamp set. Okay, so that's the guys out of the way, because you know what they're like when they're shopping, they've done their bit and they want to go home. Or is that just mine? I don't know. So let's move on to the ladies, and I won't try and sing. So the ladies, we're going to do a bit more pink, and again we've got our card. I'm just going to burnish that now while I've got my bone folder to hand. Oops. There we go. So that's all nicely ready, and we've got our pink to go on the top. So now we just need to do our top little bit. Okay. So I think I'm going to use this one. Let's have a little look. Yeah, let's go with her. So again, I'm going to pull in my Memento ink. It's lovely black. It's just a really nice ink just for doing all of your backgrounds in. Now it's quite a big stamp. Now if you've got a big stamp and you can't do it, you can pick your stamp pad up and ink this way. It's just habit, whichever works for you. There's no right or wrong way in stamping. Okay, so let's pop. I think I'm going to pop her in the middle. Why not? There we go. Nicely pressed down. Up we come, and fabulous. There we go. Lovely. So let's start off, shall we? Let's go for, I think, little girls in pink dresses. What do you reckon? I think that sounds like a good idea. Again, I'm just going to go around the bits that I think are going to be darkest, and then go over the top in the slightly lighter colour. And you can see as I start to colour it in, you do they do blend really well, and I'm not going to worry too much about being perfect. Again, life's too short to be perfect. Now I think Mum is a bit more of a rocky chick, so I'm just going to add a little bit of dark, and you can see here that she's getting there. Right, let's add a bit. Okay, and then we'll go with the lighter Misty Moonlight just to blend all of that in. And you can see as I'm using it that because these are alcohol based, they dry really quite quickly, but they do blend. So the more that I blend them in, the more so at the moment you can see lots of squiggly lines, but as I go over this, you will see that the squiggly lines disappear. Might not completely disappear, but then, you know, it's fabric. Squiggly lines and fabric. And the more I go over it, the darker it will get, and the more intense the colour. There you go. You can't see those squiggly lines anymore. You can just see the lovely darkness. Now I think we will give them a little bit of a blonde haircut. Obviously not like me and my, I don't know about anybody else, but I have lockdown grey. Apparently I started lockdown brown and I've come out of it and I'm now grey. I mean, how rude is that? It's just not on, is it? And again, we've got the lovely ivory marker, which I'm just going to give a hint of skin tone to. Again, not being too careful. It is just very quick. Give a hint that that is their skin. This is a line drawing after all. It's not fine art, which is good because I don't do fine art, but to do the face. There you go. There we go. And that's our lady and her daughter. I'm assuming it's her daughter, all coloured in. Right, let's move those out of the way. Okay. And I think we will do a bit of magenta madness for the thing. Now I'm going to use the Collect Beautiful Moments because, you know, I am a mum to a daughter. She's a teenager, so apparently beautiful moments have gone, but you know, we live in hope and they might come down. And I'm just going to pop that up there, I think. There we go. Let's press down nicely. Oh yeah, that's lovely and bright. There we go. Now they do Stampin' Up does a matching Magenta Madness ribbon, which is exactly like this one, but I think it might be a bit too pink, if I'm honest. Shocking, my colleague at work would never say anything could be too pink. So I'm actually going to use the Whisper White Crinkle Seam Binding, which is just a really simple, it's so soft, it's really soft ribbon. Sorry, I lost my train of thought then. And I think all I'm going to do is just tie a little knot. Now my top tip for tying a knot, secret top, it's not really a secret at all, I don't know why I said that, is to use a mini glue dot. Now the mini glue dots are a bit like a third finger when it comes to tying a knot. All you do is pop your mini glue dot down where you want your knot or your bow to be. There you go. And I'm just going to make sure I've got enough. Now you do get about 9-10 meters of yards of this, I think it is, yeah, 9.1 meters of this, so you're not going to run short. It does come in quite a big bundle, and the ribbons generally you do get a lot of them for your money. So all I'm going to do is tie a knot, and I'm just going to press my knot down on that glue dot, and what that will do, it will hold it in place a little. So look, my knot's not going to come undone. It's not going to come undone. Oh, sorry. Poor joke. So I'm just going to tie a double knot just because it will make sure that it definitely doesn't move. There we go. Now I can wiggle that up and down to get it straight if I want to. I'm not going to be too worried. There you go. I might do a little bow. I might try a little bow. I'm not making any promises. Sometimes bows come across and they work beautifully the first time, and the next day it's like I've been born without opposable thumbs. So who knows? Who knows what today will bring? Oh look, that looks almost like a bow. And then you can just hold the knot and pull it through a little bit if you want to make it a bit smaller, which is what I'm trying to do very unsuccessfully. Oh, look. See? So I mean, sometimes it works and sometimes you just think, what am I playing at? There we go. Right, so we have our bow, and I'm just going to trim the ribbon to the right length. Doesn't have to be perfect again, but I just don't want to cover. Oh, see, this is what happens when you talk and try to do it at the same time. So I can get rid of those bits. Right, so that's the front of our card done, and now we need to just put it all together. So again, I'm going to pull out my handy glue. Little smidge around the edge. Again, don't need a lot of this stuff. It does go a very long way. You can pop them on. The good thing about using glue is if like this you've gone a little bit wonky when you sit down, you can just squidge it around a little bit until it dries. It does dry quite quickly, but it just gives you that little opportunity. If you use double-sided tape or something, once you put it down, it's down. It's down, it's down. Right, let's go and have another go. There we go, and then we'll just pop our top on. And again, with using just a little border, you can quite easily see whether you're straight or wonky-ish. Now, it's never going to be perfect unless you get a ruler out, and I'm not that kind of person. But the bigger the border, the more easy it seems to be to go a little bit skew-whiffy. Lovely. So there we go. So that's our female card with using beautiful moments out of the way. And let's pull back our male card using a good man. there we go, that's your female and male cards, and you'll be delighted to know that I've had a bit of recording problem this morning. Don't ask. So I have actually made a few more, so if I pop those to one side and I'll show you how easy it was. Now, you saw how easy it was to make that one. Well, there you go, look, I've made a few more of them. Again, all slightly different, but using exactly the same technique. And here we go, here's our male card. I made another one. And exactly the same, all the same set up with the Magenta Madness and the Misty Moonlight inks and the Good Man and the Beautiful Moment stamp sets. And you can see that's a whole heap of, I think I've just covered my family's birthdays for the next year. Yippee! All of that in about 20 minutes. Not bad, is it? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, please do leave me a comment or get in contact. More details will be available on my website, which is pdqcards.co.uk, or contact me on Facebook. Lovely to craft along with you. Bye.